Hello, everyone, and welcome to Asian Pacific Voices Radio, where you'll find stimulating conversations that explore diverse topics and stories impacting our communities. I'm your host, Rasha Goel, and I'm so thrilled to be talking to our special guest today, Veronica Dang. Veronica is a very multi-talented individual. She's an actress, director, writer, and comedian. She was born in Pennsylvania to a large family who escaped Saigon alongside the last U.S. troops in Vietnam. Veronica has been featured in various television shows, ranging from playing a hipster who finds a dead body on Law and Order SVU to representing sweatshop workers on Saturday Night Live. Veronica has also starred in independent films and off-Broadway shows and been featured in a wide variety of commercials and print campaigns. She is the founder of New York City's premier all-Asian American sketch comedy team, Model Majority, which has sold out all their New York Times and Timeout New York recommended live shows. That is incredible. Veronica, welcome, and thank you for joining us today.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Our pleasure. You've accomplished so much. And before we get into all of that, I want to kind of go back to your childhood. I can't even imagine what that experience must have been like for having your family escape from Vietnam, come to the U.S., reestablish themselves, and then for you to grow up with two cultures, basically. So talk to me a little bit about what your childhood was like.
Yeah, I was pretty young, so I don't really remember it, but I just remember just seeing my family struggle, because they came from Vietnam where they were, I guess the equivalent like middle class, highly educated professionals that had careers and, family and support to come here and not their native language and to deal with so much racism. It was so difficult for them to even get a job, even with their education, because of the bias against Asians during that time with the Vietnam War and all the conflict about, pro and against the war. And when they did get jobs, it was just like these, I don't even know if they were minimum wage. It might have been less than minimum wage because they were immigrants. Wow. You know what I mean? Because my mom was working in a button factory, and my dad was helping out a politician to deal with paperwork and stuff because he was a lawyer in Vietnam. And it was very, very tough, especially when they had such a large family. I'm the youngest of 5, and I was born here, the only one born in the U.S. So I always joke that I'm the only one who could be president.
That's a good one. Oh, I can only imagine then what you had to go through. But I have to also honor at the same time that how your family has persevered, right? And paved their pathway here. And you are pursuing your own journey right now with your own decisions. So Veronica, I understand that you originally started off pursuing a career in medicine, but then changed over to the entertainment industry. So tell me a little bit about that transition. When did you know that I don't want to do medicine anymore? And how did your parents react to your decision?
Well, I always loved science and medicine. And of the 3 choices that a typical Asian American family have of doctor, lawyer, engineer, that was the one that I felt suited me the best, because I like science and medicine and I like helping people. And so I got, my degree in biochemistry, and then I got my master's in public health. And because I thought I was going to do MD, MPH, so I could do research and medicine at the same time. And then it was during a time where they started cutting funding for science and medicine because it's not valued. As you can see, years later with the pandemic, that we've completely abandoned this stuff, the things that are really important to keep us safe. I had a job doing research, and they lost funding, so I couldn't continue the research. And then so I just went to school, and I was I was very sad about it, and I was what am I going to do? And then I remembered I've always had an interest in the arts, ever since I was little. I started, we talked about, I started playing piano when I was 5, and I loved reading and watching TV. When I was young, the TV was my babysitter. So it was often with these families, their parents are working 2-3 jobs. You they just you stayed at home, locked up, and then they came after work, and then you had dinner. But yeah, so I spent a lot of time, of course, doing homework because I had to get this like A's, be the perfect Asian child, right? And but yeah, like when I was like, oh, this it doesn't look like science and medicine is really valued, and it's like hard to get work, and then I just like had so much debt from graduate school. I was like, while I'm like, not doing the research, let me just pursue this acting thing while I'm in school. And so then I did that, and I was like, I just loved it, and I never thought it'd like be something I would do as a career. But like every time I did it, like I would get more and more opportunities, and then I started exploring other things, and then just got sucked in. And then like I kept saying, "Oh, I'll go back to medical school," and it's been many years, and I haven't yet. I don't know if they've ever accepted it, but sometimes like when I'll win awards or something, and they'll be like, "Oh, we struggled so that you could do this." Whereas before they're like, nope, no daughter of mine is ever gonna be in, the arts, or because like in Vietnam, like like actresses are considered like equivalent to like concubines. They're
Oh,
not like they're not well respected. But when I became like writer director, then they like, oh well, that you're in charge, so then that's a little more acceptable.
So initially they weren't on board with it, but as time went on by, is it fair to say that they kind of just started accepting it and then seeing all the different
because they
things
knew
that you
that's
were
something
doing?
like I was going to keep doing, and I loved it. They still hope that I'll like get a real job and go to medical school, but like
Yeah, I
before
think
it was just like I couldn't even talk to them about it, and I didn't even tell them.
I
But they
can
come around
completely relate.
eventually, right? You break them down
Yeah,
eventually.
I think they do, but I think there's always like you mentioned something so interesting. Like there's that little hope of, oh, she'll get a real job at some point, right? So there's
Yeah.
that acceptance, but that full acceptance of, okay, that my child can be an artist and be successful at this. And speaking of artistry, you've done so much. You've done films and television shows and off-Broadway shows. Um, talk to me about what have been some factors that have helped you lead up to getting those opportunities, and then what you've enjoyed the most.
Oh, it's so hard to choose because I love them at the time, and I have fond memories of everything. Because when you're an Asian actor, there's like very few opportunities to do anything like that's like meaningful. That's not just like stereotypes or just like silent or a few lines in the background or whatever. So like I literally love everything that I've gotten to do. Most recently, like this past year, I've gotten to be like leads in like these full length plays, which was amazing. And
So
and also getting to found my like sketch comedy team has been such an rewarding experience.
yeah, let's talk about that. Model Majority. Now you're the founder and executive director of this all-American sketch comedy team. They've sold out shows all through the New York Times, and Timeout New York has recommended the live shows. So that's pretty huge. Congratulations on
Thank
that.
you.
How did this team come together, and what was your intent behind creating this group?
Yeah, so as everybody know, Crazy Rich Asians came out, and even before that, like for years, I'd always like, oh, I want to be an SNL, but like I never saw anybody like me on it, right? And in New York, there's like they have these like comedy theaters, that training grounds, like UCB or whatever, and but I couldn't seem to get into like the cliques, to be on like teams or whatever. So it's like I should just start my own team and or see if there's interest in it. And I put a post on my Facebook, just like one post, asking, "Hey, it would be anybody interested in joining a sketch comedy team with me?" And that one post, I got flooded with people who were interested, and to we're up to like around 30 people on the roster and people on the wait list to
Oh.
perform with us. Because every show we do a different show and we have different cast and writers. Because I want to, have opportunities for myself to perform and write and direct and all that stuff. But I'm also like trying to, give opportunities to, well, originally it was just like my friends, but now it's like friends and people who are interested in like getting this comedy experience. Because it's better now with comedy for Asians, but there's still not enough.
No, right. So
It's
you
kind of a training
rotate
ground.
each show basically, right? Is that what
Yeah,
you're
it's
saying?
like
You
every
rotate
show
each
is like
show?
different sketches, different cast, different writers.
I love that. Do you feel though that things have changed from when you first started to now as far as opportunities, whether it's with acting or even in the sketch comedy world for Asian American actors and talent?
I mean, there's definitely, you see more people that look like us on screen. I still think it's very hard because I definitely think there's a focus more on like people who are Asian versus Asian American, because people are like who are superstars in Asia have a following, so that's kind of like why they were like okay with like having them here. Like Michelle, yeah, was like a superstar in all of Asia for like decades, and then like they're discovering her now at 60. You know, she should have been doing leads here. You know,
That is so, I'm so glad you brought this up. That is such an interesting point because I'm being Indian, being South Asian. That's what a lot of the Bollywood stars too, and these guys are. I mean, they're world known international stars, like you said, just with Michelle too, right? And but that recognition of their talent comes at such a later point, even if at all here in Hollywood. I know that a lot of the actors from there too, they do have a difficult time crossing over. Some aren't even interested, some are. But that's such an interesting point you bring up. And I didn't even realize that the difference between Asian and then you've got Asian American talent that's trying to make their own pathway here.
and definitely there's more shows now. Like we had Fresh Off the Boat, which is amazing. You know, short lived, but still is
Right.
like progress versus like Margaret Cho's show, which got canceled pretty quickly.
They started paving the way though, I think, right?
Exactly.
And
It's just like these
so
like small incremental steps. And then Minnie Kaling
yeah.
has her shows on Netflix and seems to be making a
So it's
wave.
growing. It's
It
growing.
just it's
Well,
hard,
and
but because
let's
they want it's all about like what they perceive as like money and like marketable. So like now like
yeah.
it's like they'll it's either like the Asian superstar talent that already has a huge following, or like if there's a few that are doing really well, like Aquafina, but she was like a YouTube star. They
Yeah.
still use like all the same people, like so it's hard in everything.
I'm so with you on that, Veronica. So how I feel like that you've kind of have started paving your own pathway in that too, though, because now you are a director and a writer. You co-wrote and directed films, namely Missed Calls, Mila and Mimi too, which have won the Lionsgate and Spy That Dumped Me Females Filmmaker Contest, and Extinct, which won the Jury Prize in the AAFL 72-hour shootout, and the Best Short Film at Catra Film Series. So talk to me about these films, and then are they available for screening online? Then I'm going to come back and ask you something about the creation of them.
Yeah, I mean a lot of the short films are available online, or just you can email me and I'll send you the passwords to access some of them. But yeah, it's just like you can't just be an actor nowadays. You have to like write, direct, produce, and do all these other things because no one's going to give you these opportunities. It's actually harder and harder to get opportunities now. I mean, because like you see all these like streaming networks are converging and like and getting rid of like whole collections of like TV shows. So it's like actually not just like actors, even writers are suffering because they're like losing all these jobs. You know,
Yep.
because it's like even in animation and narrative, it's crazy. The industry's so different now. And it's like a lot of reality shows, or it has to be like IP, like based on books or video games to like get something fresh and new, unless you have like
So
some
how
celebrity touched. So that's why you like have to make your own stuff, and hopefully maybe somebody rich like what you're doing and invest in your projects.
so then how do you keep yourself inspired and continue to go on this path when you do feel that it can be so challenging?
I mean, surround yourself with people who are like-minded really helps. So like that's another like thing about I love about Mom Majority. We used to before the pandemic, we used to have like monthly shows. We had a residency at like the theater, which they offered us now, but I was like, that's so much work. So we do like our sort of like our annual shows. Like we're having our annual Lunar New Year's show on the January 28th that we do, which is the Year of the Rabbit and Cat, depending on which
Mhm.
country you're from. And so it's all like cat and rabbit theme.
Oh,
And
nice.
it's like every time we get to meet in the writer's room and like, create things together and also perform together on stage in front of a live audience, a very supportive audiences because we have like the best fans. It's that's what keeps me going. That's like why we create, because while you're waiting for those opportunities, I just think always being around friends and family and creating is so helpful.
And this is going to be a live show?
Yeah, so we do live shows.
Okay.
And we
so
also do like video sketches too, but we try to do the live
great.
shows.
So people can get tickets and come watch this show.
Yeah. And then after the Lunar Year show, we do our annual AEPI History Month show in May.
Oh, awesome. Okay, great.
And
we'll get
that's
the
also a live show.
information from you after. And Veronica, with everything going on, you still find time to help animals. You train dogs and foster for animal rescue organizations. So tell us a little bit about that.
I've always loved dogs, but we weren't allowed to have dogs growing up. So when I was like an adult, I can finally have a dog, but I couldn't, commit to it with my schedule. So, I would foster dogs. And a lot of rescue dogs have a lot of issues, behavioral and medical, physical issues. And so, yeah, I learned how to like train them and care for them medically. And that's like something I really love, so that they like get all better and socialize, so that they can get home and like find the perfect home.
I love that. What a beautiful gift to be able to give.
And I like dogs better than people.
I heard they're more loyal, I will tell you that.
And they just like unconditional love, right? They don't they just always love you, and no matter what, you're like perfect, right?
So
to them.
You're also seen on stage doing stand-up, improv, sketch, and Shakespeare. What don't you do, Veronica? So how do you find the time and energy to manage all of this?
I mean, I definitely take breaks, but I just definitely have a lot of people that help me do a lot of these things too. Like, my team, I have, a lot of people that love it. So we all chip in where we can to help. And then, I just have so many interests, and just because there's not enough work, I just have to like learn and train and do as much as I can. Because that's why you're an artist. You want to do things that are enjoyable and always be creating. So even though I probably don't have time, there's times where I'm like, oh no, what did I get myself into? I'm exhausted. I'm like, I'm going to quit. I'm not doing this anymore. And then you get that laugh, and then you're like, oh, well, that'll fuel me for a while.
And tell me, what advice would you like to give to people, especially the younger generation of aspiring Asian Pacific Islanders who are thinking of pursuing a career as a comedian or in this industry?
I feel like, like Gen Z and younger, like, are just so on top of it already with like TikTok and, because they're already creating the content on their own, which is amazing. Like, I didn't have that growing up.
I know.
So we had YouTube, which was great. But it's like now you can just do much shorter, which is like really challenging, I think. Although I still cannot accept the vertical. As a filmmaker, it burns my eyes. But yeah, just life is short, and like people destroying the planet, so you might as well enjoy it and do what you love, and have a lot of gratitude, and just like tell your family you love them, because tomorrow's not promised, right?
Tomorrow is not promised, and it's
especially
very
during a pandemic. So
yes, absolutely. So now you've got your Model Majority show coming up. Anything else that you want to share with us that you're working on or let people know about?
I'm just I'll be filming a fan film, Marvel fan film, because I don't know if you know about the Asian female Spider-Man person, Silk.
Yes.
So like it's like when I looked at the comic book, I was like, she looks just like me. So, and they're actually they're making the TV series, I heard. So, but I was like, I'll never get cast in that. So like, I'm getting together with my friends, and we're going to make a fan film. I even got the costume made.
Okay. So that's what you're working on. Hey, who knows? We may see you in this series, especially if you look like the character. How can people find you, Veronica? Is there a website? What are your social media handles?
Yeah, so for Model Majority, we're at Model Majority for most of it, except for Twitter. We had to get Model Majority 1, even though most people are not on Twitter anymore. And I'm Veronica Dang on socials. And then website's modelmajority.com, and I'm at iveronicadang.com.
Awesome. And any plans to come to California and tour out here?
Oh, I would love to. But, finances. So if anybody knows anybody who wants to sponsor us and pay for us to fly out, that'd be amazing.
All right. Well, they're hearing it right here. So you heard Veronica. She does need some sponsors to come through. Let's get her out here to Los Angeles, especially. Veronica, it has been such a pleasure speaking with you. Before I head out here, is there anything else you wanted to share?
Just Happy New Year.
Yes, absolutely. Happy New Year to you too. And thank you. It's been such a pleasure having you on our show and hearing about your story. You're such a diversely talented individual, and I wish you the best and look forward to seeing more of your continued success. So again, we'd like to thank Veronica Dang for joining us on today's show. Also, for all of our audience, we would love to hear from you. So again, you are our valued listeners. Please do send us any suggestions for any future guests or topics that you may have. And don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, as well as follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Asian Pacific Voices Radio is produced by Asian Culture and Media Alliance, which is a nonprofit that empowers our Asian and Pacific Islander communities with a voice through media arts. Now, if you would like to support our program, please do visit us at AsianPacificVoicesRadio.com. I'm Rasha Goel. Thank you once again for joining and listening. And don't forget to join us next week for another exciting and thought-provoking Asian Pacific Voices radio show. Till then, take care and keep smiling.